Hello, my name's Dale Adams of Planning Ahead of Time, and on this week's Pat Chat, I'm speaking with Shelley. Shelley, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi everybody. Hi Dale. Thank you for inviting me along. As Dale said, my name's Shelley Jackson-Woodall, and I am a celebrant that works in the West Midlands area as a funeral celebrant mainly, and also a wedding celebrant. So yes, that's who I am.
That's the nutshell bit. You and I actually met at the National Funeral Exhibition when I was there with Lorna Weiss, who I know you know quite well, and you've been doing some training with her recently. But can you tell us a little bit about what it is you do?
Yes, of course. So I wear many hats. So I'm a funeral celebrant mainly. We like my daily kind of stuff is funeral celebrancy, along with running a celebrant training school. So I run those alongside one another. So that's two full-time jobs that I'm doing alongside each other. I'm also involved in a community death education project. I'm a director there, so we do community events. Um, I'm also involved in a few other things within the community, mainly around death and dying, loss, grief, and bereavement. So educating. So a lot of my role is educating, but then also I'm doing going out and meeting families and writing eulogies and delivering ceremonies for families in the area. So yeah, a little bit of everything.
So when you say that you sort of go out into the community with your educating, can you tell us a bit more about that? Because obviously for me, the planning and educating people around dying, death, loss, and grief is so crucial. And obviously it's
Yeah.
something you're doing.
Definitely. I mean, it's not something I'd really thought about that much before I came into being a funeral celebrant. Um, but I realised that when I sit with families and we're planning ceremonies, sometimes the most simple question can be the most difficult. So even something like, do you think they would you like to sing a hymn? Would they like to have had a hymn? Which hymn do you think they'd like? And that can bring a meeting almost to a halt whilst we think about that. So I have been quite passionate, really, from when I started, that we need to start these conversations earlier. The stress that somebody has whilst they're grieving already is incredible. But then add on top of that that they're not sure that they're doing the right thing for their loved one for their funeral, which everybody wants to make sure that that's right. You know, it's their send off. They want to make sure that they've honoured them properly. And so it's become apparent to me that we need to do something kind of before that point. The worst time to try and plan anything is when you're in grief. And so doing the community death education and some of the work that I do as a celebrant as well is vital, really. Opening up those conversations, making people feel more comfortable with those conversations will take away the stress at a time when people are grieving and they should be focusing on grieving rather than trying to organise things.
So with the community education, are you speaking to the people who want to make those plans themselves, or the families of people who are obviously becoming elderly or are poorly, or is it just a mixture of both?
Yeah, it's a mixture of all of those really. So we hold different events in the community, and they will have a focus. So our next one is in October, and it's actually focusing on pet bereavement because that's a massive thing that is actually kind of a bit brushed away and seen as, oh yeah, they're just a pet. But for some people, that pet is their baby, their family, the person that's always there supporting them, and they might not have family that do that. So it's obviously a missing part of somebody's life. So we're focusing on pet bereavement. When people come,
That's really interesting, because actually the last two pet chats I've done,
Mhm.
both of the guests brought up the death of pets.
Yeah,
One from the side of helping people with pet bereavement, and the other one, it was her own dog that had
yeah,
died. And you think, yeah, it really is. And also, pets can be your confidant a lot
yeah,
of the time, that
yeah.
you impart information to, and I know they don't respond, but that you just couldn't share with anybody else. And sometimes verbalizing gets out those feelings and the problems that we're facing. It is a problem shared, and often that can be with pets, can't it?
Yeah, definitely. And as you say, they're a confidant, they're a constant companion. They don't go and spread the gossip. They're not sharing it with anyone else. So yeah, they become a really important part of our lives. And I know that Lorna is currently writing a book on pet bereavement to go alongside her other books, because for children in particular, it might be their first experience of death and grief. And so it's important that we are imparting children with the vocabulary that they can explain how they feel, and that, yes, it does feel bad, but it's also natural, because you've loved something and now you've lost it, and it's how to impart them to feel confident in talking about that. So yeah, pet bereavement's our next one, but we do all sorts of things, so people can come and talk about whatever they want to talk about. So we talk about things like living funerals and living eulogies, and putting things in place for families, and just having an outline of what somebody would like as a funeral. Where would you like to hold a funeral to begin with? It doesn't have to be crematorium, it doesn't have to be in a church. Where would you love it to be? And that starts lots of conversations, as does talking about music and what you'd like music wise. So yeah.
And I think that having the conversations with people while they're healthy and death for them isn't imminent actually makes it so much easier to talk about, because then we can literally say, well, yes, I would want this and I'll do it this way. And if I had my wish, this is how it would be. And when you've got other people and you're all sharing different information and ideas, it can actually be a really positive, nice environment. And I think this is what people don't always understand. They think if it's about death and dying, it's going to be really heavy and morbid. But it's just not, is it? When you all get together, it's actually, it can even be fun.
Yeah, we always have a laugh, and people always say, oh, I was a little bit, nervous about coming, but it's been really nice. And for some people, they're on different parts of their journey. So some people may be grieving, some people may be looking at an illness, that's terminal. Other people are just coming along and being part of that group and supporting one another and having these conversations. And it's whatever we talk about, it's like life. There's one side and the other, isn't there? There's ups and downs, and that there can be tears, but there's always laughter as well. So it's that balance, I think, of normalizing a conversation that's going to happen to all of us.
And that's the crucial bit, isn't it? The normalizing. It's something that people don't want to talk about. Often people right up until their last breath will say that they're going to live on. People deny it continually, but that isn't necessarily helpful for them or the people around them. Now, I read something recently where somebody said the fact that people are putting their own plans in place has a negative impact on the family, because arranging a funeral is something that they want to do to honor that person, as if to say their choices as a family have been taken away by the person saying this is what I would want. Now, I don't really agree with that, because I feel that the family are under an awful lot of pressure to, as you've said, get it right and do right by the person that they loved, and when they are thrown into grief, they just aren't thinking straight. They're put under a lot of pressure to make decisions that they just make in a hurry, in a rush. So my view is it's better to impart what you would want, but also know that that's slightly, that's a bit fluid. It's like, this is what I would want, but if it's not possible, that's okay. I mean, what are your views on what I read?
Yeah, that's really interesting. It's I can see how people might think that you're taking away people's choices, and I would hope that families could have this conversation together so that it isn't one person sat at home making choices without any kind of conversation around it. And I know that does happen. And I know that that happens quite often with direct funerals, that people will plan to have a direct funeral and then just kind of give that information as a fait accompli, like that's what I'm having. But I would hope that it would be a conversation with other family members. And as you say, it's not, if somebody's written something down that they'd like the Lord's Prayer or a certain poem, it's not law that we do that, but it gives the family a starting point and a point of they know what kind of things that they'd want. And I have never met a family that has not liked the fact that they have a framework from their loved one, and that they know what they would like. And so it's just that support thing, and I would hope, as I say, that it could be a two-way conversation, but a lot of people can't have that even with their loved ones, even when they're in active dying in a hospice, they still can't have that conversation about funerals and what they want to happen afterwards. But yeah, I certainly have never met a family that hasn't been incredibly grateful for any information that they've had from their loved one in regards to their funeral.
I completely agree. As I've said, I thought it was a very strange thing that I read. However, again, everybody has their views, and that's absolutely okay. But of what I've experienced as well, actually planning and verbalizing some of the things that you want, even if they're not written down, making sure that people at least have some idea is really important. So with regards to the training, obviously you said from a celebrancy point of view, you cover the West Midlands. And from a training perspective, what do you do there?
Oh, okay. So the training covers the whole of the UK. And we also have celebrants abroad. So we've got celebrants in Dubai, South Africa, Spain, France, like they're everywhere. But they are all English speaking. So there might be expats living abroad. But the majority of our celebrants are in the UK, from the very top of Scotland to the very furthest point in England. And yes, so we train celebrants, we train in person. So we always do residential training. I have previously taught online training during COVID, and it just didn't work for a lot of people. They need to be in a room. Celebrants is about people. You need to be together to kind of be able to do that. And it's quite an intense course. And so going away and being locked into like a celebrancy bubble for a week is quite nice because you can just really focus on what you're doing. We give homework, unfortunately. There's homework and research on an evening. And it means you haven't got to do all the everyday stuff. You haven't got to finish training and then go and cook the dinner and do the ironing and walk the dog. You're just in this beautiful bubble of celebrancy. And we cover funerals and we do weddings and we talk about other things like memorials, living eulogies, living funerals, and all sorts of celebratory ceremonies, from adoption, vow renewal, transgender reassignment ceremonies, like everything. And it's very practical, very hands-on, lots of working with your cohort and working with a partner. And yeah, we just practice everything. We lead a ceremony, we lead a funeral, we visit a funeral director comes and visits us. We go to the crematorium. So yeah, very practical, very hands-on. And again, it's that tears and laughter. There'll be times when things hit people, we talk about difficult scenarios with death. Um, and then lots of laughter as well and lots of support. And it's nice to be in a group and have a cohort of your first set of celebrant colleagues all together. So yeah, and I love it. I love teaching. I love being a celebrant. So yeah, it's a perfect job.
Well, to be honest, every time you're talking, you light up. So you are somebody that's obviously, it's obvious from the way you speak that you just love everything that you do. And isn't that a nice, isn't it nice to enjoy your job so much? And
Yeah.
again, when you say that a lot of what you do is about death and dying, people find that very strange that you would love what you do. But I do think it's a really compassionate and heart-led profession, isn't it?
Mm,
There's a lot of
definitely.
beautiful people in it.
Yeah, and it's about celebrating. It's about celebrating a life. It's about celebrating love. It's about celebrating family. It's all those things, all those rites of passage that we celebrate. And people, as we found in COVID, need to get together for funerals. They need to be in a room together, supporting one another. You need to have that people around you that you can physically see are there and have got your back at that time. And COVID showed us how desperately important it was to do that. And so, people say, don't they, you only see family at weddings and funerals. And I think that's quite true a lot of the time because we're so spread out around the country and around the world. But coming together for a funeral can actually be a beautiful, uplifting time as well. So, yeah, I do talk about death and dying a lot, but I usually do it with a smile.
Well, I've said I'll be the person at the table. If you go somewhere that people are thinking, oh no, don't want to really sit next to her because she's going to talk about death and dying, and yet spend the whole evening wanting to know more about what I do and understand it
Exactly.
and find it so interesting. But there again, there's a fear to it, isn't there? People
Yeah.
avoid it, but then when they start and they know that actually it can be quite interesting and it can be quite enjoyable to talk about it, they have so many questions.
Yeah. I think for people as well, so people who are in end of life care and having some being empowered to talk about it and for somebody not to get upset about it and to have those open conversations actually gives them some power in a situation that they have no control over. So I'm working with a lady at the moment who is we've done her eulogy, we've planned her ceremony, and we've done it together with the family there as well. But it's very much led by her. Um, and that's given her some power in a situation that she's actually just got to go with the flow the rest of the time. And it's given her family comfort, knowing that she'll get exactly what she wants. And there'll be some things afterwards that they will decide and want to probably add to the ceremony. But it's given her um, kind of, it's made it easier for her to enjoy this last few weeks of her life knowing that everything's in place for them and that they haven't got to worry about anything because they know what she wants. So yes, and people love asking questions, don't they, and finding out the details. And I went to an event on Saturday that was at a funeral director's, and they had an open day for the community, and people want to go and see what happens behind the scenes and what it's like, and ask those questions. So yeah, I'm always open for those conversations. And I always say I'm not the Grim Reaper. I'm not dressed all in black up the corner in a hood. I'm quite open, and I smile and I laugh. So yeah, people think we're all morbid, but no, not at all.
I think what you're just saying about your client there is it's peace of mind. And with one of my clients, she went into end of life and went into hospital, and they said, basically you're in your last few days now. And I went in to see her, and as I sat on the bed, she said, I don't know what's the matter with me. I wanted to die. I'd reached the stage. I'd had enough. I was ready. She said, but these last few days, I'm saying to my daughter, I don't know if I want to die now. And I said, okay. And she said, so I don't really know why. Why don't I want to die anymore? And I said, because it's so close. And now there's this fear. It's fear of the unknown. And I said, but more than anything, because I think she'd already sort of addressed that. She wasn't necessarily scared of the dying part. I said, but there is a fear of the unknown, not necessarily death, but the unknown. I said, but you love your family. You don't want to leave your family. And that's understandable. But of course, she had got everything in place for them. But we then spoke about her love for her family, whether she was actually ready from that point of view, had everything she needed to say being said. And then I spoke to her about my beliefs in the afterlife, and I was talking to her about my mom who's in spirit, and how you can still be around your loved ones. And when I went to leave, she just gave me a great big hug and she said, thank you, I understand now, I feel better now, I'm ready again. And it was about a week later when the lady died. But it was that peace of mind that she needed, that it was okay. And I think, again, she'd been having some conversations with her family, and they can't always have all the conversations they want with a family, because she had been saying, I don't really want to go now. And people didn't understand because she did want to go. So it's very hard, isn't it, when people are in those stages? But the more that they can do to be in control of that, the better, because we're in control of our lives, and we should really be in control of our lives until our last breath.
Definitely. Yeah. It's so difficult, isn't it? We never want to leave somebody. If we've had a lovely holiday, we never want to go home, do we? And go back to doing everything and not be with the people that we've spent time with. And that's totally understandable, isn't it? That you don't want to leave your loved ones, and you know that you leaving is going to be upsetting for them. It's going to cause grief. There's going to be a whole roller coaster of stuff going on. And you never want to do that to anybody that you love. But also, it is, it is a time when people can relax, can feel that they are able to go. And I know that a lot of families kind of give permission almost that it's, you can relax now. We know it's time. You can we understand that, and allow people to go. And obviously she just needed that final little reassurance that she'll still be around. She's in every cell of their body, she's in every thought probably that they have, and she's surrounding them in lots of different ways, not just in a physicality. And sometimes that's difficult to remember, I guess. But yeah, it's incredible when we can support people just to feel comfortable at that time, and give them some reassurance that it's going to be okay, and you've done everything you can, and we all have to go. So yeah, bless her. Oh.
Well, it's been so nice to speak to you. Shelley, the one thing I forgot to ask is, when you were talking about your community sort of death work, is that all in person? I assume you don't run anything online in that regard?
We don't at the moment, but I think we are going to do some because it will allow more people, not just within our immediate community, to access it. So we're actually undergoing a bit of a rebrand that we're going to launch in the new year, which will be on our anniversary of setting up. So we are going to kind of start going to more in community events rather than just running our own events. So there's like we have a Starbridge Carnival, and we did the event at H Porter's, the funeral directors. So we're going to tap in and go along to more community events, even school summer fairs, where we quite often do craft activities within our groups, because if people's hands are busy, sometimes that makes them a little bit more relaxed to talk about stuff. So we kind of can go out into the community and do stuff. But we are going to do a program of online events too, probably a little bit like this, that in conversation with, so people can ask questions, and kind of if they want to ask a funeral director something, or anybody within the profession, the funeral profession, they want to ask questions, we can do a little Q&A online, and yeah, people can join in that way. But yes, so that is just changing at the moment, actually, as we developed. We've run it for 2 years, and so we know how things work, and so we can kind of develop it more now. So my training school is called Celebrant Circle, and we run training every couple of months, small groups, because we don't think training hundreds of people is the right way to go. And it's you have to apply, you have to have an interview, and we really want our celebrants to succeed. So it's really important that we feel that they are capable of coming into celebrancy and making a success of it, because so many places will just take you and not have done that kind of due diligence beforehand, and not everyone can be a celebrant, unfortunately. So yeah, that's my Celebrant training school, and I'm SJW Celebrant. So that's the other
I love your
side.
logo. I really
Thank you. Just here behind me.
It's very nice. Well, actually, planningaheadoftime.com is my website. It's just gone live with a new look. And on that, we actually have an events section where people can put their events on for free. So I'll be pointing you towards that and saying, feel free to put on for free any of the events that you're running, whether they're in person or online. Okay, so how do people contact you then, if they would like to talk to you about any of the work that you're doing?
Yeah, okay. So if you contact me, which is Shelley, SHELLEY, at sjwcelebrant.co.uk, I can, whether it's for training or whether it's for the community events, whatever it's for, that's the best email address. And then I can point you in the right direction. We can have a chat, or whatever people need, information, whatever. I'm quite happy to talk. So yeah.
Perfect. Do you have a website, Shelley?
I do. It's www.sjwcelebrant.co.uk. And for the training school, it's www.celebrantzircle.com. So that's the two, yeah.
Okay, that's lovely. So that's celebrantcircle.com.
Yes.
Okay, lovely. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to chat with me. It's been really nice to speak to you.
It's lovely to see you again. And if I don't see you before, I see you at the next NFE, which is in 2 years at Stoneleigh. But yeah, thank you so much, Dale, for your time as well.
Hopefully it'll be before then, Shelley, but you never know.
Who knows? Look, we were just talking before, weren't we? How time goes so quick. It'll be here in no time at all. So yeah, but it'd be lovely to catch up before then.
Speak to you again. Bye.